Hello, I'm Brian Kaczynski of Second Sound, and I want to demonstrate a new music synthesizer component that I'm working on. I have two audio input sources here, a basic analog square wave oscillator and a vocal mic, plus an audio mixer which simply selects which input we are using. And this device is my synthesizer component. My device consists of a few parts which I'll illustrate with a block diagram. Audio, which can be from any monophonic source, comes in here and goes through one of two paths. One path contains what I call an adaptive fundamental component filter, which selects the fundamental frequency in the input source, which is useful if you're using a human voice or an instrument with a complex harmonic spectrum, because the hardware which processes this signal depends on having almost a pure sine wave as an input. The other path simply bypasses the filter and would be used, for example, on a signal which already has a simple waveform, like the VCO output from another analog synth. In the block diagram, everything inside the dotted line is contained in this gold-colored chip. The heart of this chip is what I call a frequency tracking oscillator. It detects the sine wave input and tracks its frequency without noticeable delay with an internal oscillator which is running more than 8,000 times faster. That fast oscillator is then divided down by a variable amount to an audio frequency, which can either be in unison with the input or shifted by a certain ratio relative to the input, both of which I'll demonstrate. So let's listen to it. First, we'll use the analog oscillator as input. Here's how this oscillator sounds by itself. I'm only manipulating the frequency control and volume. Now let's see what happens when we input this signal into my device in the unison setting. You actually can't hear much difference because the two oscillators are in unison. But if we change the divider setting, of course, when I change the oscillator frequency, the tracking oscillator follows this frequency and the harmonic interval remains constant. The divider ranges from a perfect fifth below the original audio to a perfect fourth above. If we sweep it, we can create a particular rising and falling scale. And there's an additional divider which can drop the frequency by 1 or 2 octaves. Now let's see how the device responds to a voice input. I've put it back into the unison setting. We can create interesting harmonies. Or change the octave setting. Finally, I'd like to announce the future evolution of this device. Obviously, for this demo, I'm adjusting the volume with a volume knob. But analog synth musicians could add an ADSR generator with a VCA to play my device more musically. I mentioned already that the heart of this gold chip is an oscillator operating more than 8,000 times faster than their audio input. This high-frequency oscillator signal will be used together with some digital signal processing to extract the individual harmonic components of the audio, attenuate or amplify them independently, shift their frequency or frequencies, and assemble them back together. The result will be a signal which is similar to the original audio, but with the spectrum reshaped. If we use my voice as an example, we'll be able to make my voice resemble a different voice. More generally, we can make a certain instrument resemble a different instrument, or we can generate new voices that don't even correspond to any existing instrument. The final product will be an analog-digital hybrid, but will retain the character and sound of fully analog solutions. So please stay tuned as I update you on the progress of this project. If all goes well, I'll have something much more interesting to demonstrate a few months from now. Thank you for watching.